Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Job, the 14th chapter. And as Job continues to speak, as you can see here, Job speaks of the finality of death. Man that is born of a woman is of few days and full of trouble. Right, just saying man in general, the mortal man, our life is short, right, and full of hardships. He cometh forth like a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. So as a flower that is short-lived, right, you grow one day, the next you're cut down. A shadow that is there, and then once the shade or the object casting it moves or is gone, then the shadow is gone, just like that, just as quickly as it appeared. That's how he likens the life of man. And dost thou open thine eyes upon such an one, and bringest me into judgment with thee? So he's saying, like, Lord, you look at how, like, it's like a man being so, caught up on like a ladybug, or like those tiny little flies. It's like that it is of such little significance for you to be, so attentive to it, to be so deliberate in this judgment that you're bringing upon it. Is how Job is sort of wording it here. Verse 4, who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one, right? Nobody can do that. Seeing if once the Lord is, what that means is, does that mean that you got a cup that's dirty, you go and wash it, now it's clean? This is no. What this is saying is, once the Most High pronounces something unclean, right? If He declares this to be unclean, like say for example, pork is unclean to eat, right? You can't touch the carcass of it. You can't go and say now it's clean. I sprinkled holy water on it. Nobody can do that because the Lord has deemed it unclean in that sense. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Right, and here, as he's speaking in third person, really generally about the life of man, right? That, as he just mentioned above, how briefly and short our lives are, and our days, our lifespan is determined, right? It's already set. It's preset. And the number, of months in which you live are with the Lord. He knows how long, you're set to live. Right? As it says, thou appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Right? Which is however long the Lord has given you, you can't live past that. Right? Now, the other layer of Job 14:5, right, as we often use it, is in reference to Esau. Right? And this time, in terms of his actual dominion or his rulership, which really in general goes for any rulership, right? When used in that sense, because the Lord sets up a time or a duration for you to have that dominion. So Esau, for example, in this time, he has a duration to rule, but as it says, the number of his months are with thee. The Lord already knows how long he's set to reign. And the Lord has set a day or a bound where it's game over. And at that point, he can't go past that. Right. So that's the other layer or use of this verse here. Verse 6, turn from him that he may rest till he shall accomplish as an hireling his day. Right. So, give him a break. Right. NKJV, look away from him that he may rest. NLT, so leave us alone and let us rest. Like a hired man, he finishes his day. NLT, we are like hired hands, so let us finish our work in peace. Right? If we're here so temporarily, one minute we're here, the next we're gone. Just let us be on this earth in peace. And live out our swift course in our temporary life. Right? Like one who you've hired to do a job, they're there temporarily. For there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. Right? So trees, at least, if you cut it, it has hope. It will grow again. Right? It will grow back. And that the tender branch thereof will not cease. So once it grows back, that those same branches will come back again. Though the root thereof wax old in the earth, and the stalk thereof die in the ground. This is referring to like the tree stump. Because when you can cut a tree. I forgot the term of this, what it's called, but when you cut a tree, it can grow back. And that's what he said. When he says the stalk is referring to the stump, which looks like the tree is dead, but so long as the roots are still alive in the soil, it can grow back, right? If with the proper nourishment. Yet through descent of water, it will bud. See, so meaning it will it would be able to grow back again and bring forth boughs or branches like a plant. However, right, but man dieth and wasteth away. Right, when man dies and you're buried, your body starts to decay and break down. Yea, man giveth up the ghost, and where is he? Right, once your spirit leaves your body, that's it. You're not getting up out of that grave. As the as the waters fail from the sea, and the flood decayeth and drieth up. So just as, and the sea here is like, let's say, more so like a body of water or a river or a stream. Just as, when it's hot enough, right, that water can dry up. And as it says, the flood decayeth and drieth up, just like that. And then that water is gone. So man lieth down and riseth not, till the heavens be no more. They shall not awake, nor be raised up out of their sleep. This now, Job is not here. He's not necessarily like, he's not saying or trying to disprove reincarnation. Okay, we know how that works, but he's saying more so that this is, at least so far, how life works. Once you go to the grave, you don't get back up out of that grave. So, for example, you can have a man that lives, he dies, he's buried, his sepulcher is there, his bones are preserved properly. In the third generation or fourth generation, where that spirit comes back on the earth again, he can go to that sepulcher. If he wouldn't have remembrance, but in my example, let's say he does, he can go to that sepulcher and see, all right, that was where in his past life he was buried. Those are the bones of the previous body he was in, right? Those bones are not coming back, right? That person who's in that grave is not coming back. Now, obviously, this is excluding the time of judgment and the prophecy of, the end days and so on. And Job is speaking more here as like conventional life. So that's what he means by man lieth down and riseth not, right? Not that your spirit won't come back on earth again, but once you go in the grave in that body, that's it, right? That person is pronounced dead. They're not rising up out of the grave again, nor be raised out of their sleep. Oh, that thou wouldest hide me in the grave, that thou wouldest keep me secret until thy wrath be past, right? So if only, since that's how it works, if only you just put me in the grave, right? Hide me in there so I don't have to endure this until your anger is past. And then it says, thou wouldest appoint me a set time and remember me. And then you come and get me. Once the wrath is past and I don't have to be alive and out here on the earth feeling this pain. If a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my appointed time will I wait till my change come. And let's read this in another translation as well. So let's do the NKJV. It says, if a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my hard service I will wait till my change comes. And when you go into that word change, one of the definitions is release. That's why they have in the NLT as release of death. And you also have in the NIV, keep forgetting this thing doesn't even load, renewal to come. But it says here in the NLT, can the dead live again? If so, this would give me hope through all my years of struggle, and I would eagerly await the release of death. Now, as Job is asking for this release of death, in our days now, we're also right in a similar stead, awaiting, right, in this case, for our appointed time. But our appointed time here, we're not, waiting for the release of death, but rather for the change of, being taken from this vile state, right, and being changed as the scriptures talk about, right, in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, and other precepts, right, and where we will be changed and become like Yahushai. Okay, so it says in verse 15, Thou shalt call, and I will answer thee. Thou will have a desire to the work of thine hands. Right? If only that was the case and you would do that for me, then you would, whatever it is you call, and I'll happily answer you. For now thou numberest my steps. Dost thou not watch over my sin? NLT, for then you would guard my steps instead of watching over my sins. My transgression is sealed up in a bag, and thou sewest up mine iniquity. So get that as well. It says, my sins would be sealed in a pouch, and you would cover my guilt. And surely the mountain falling cometh to naught, and the rock is removed out of his place. The waters wear the stones. That meaning like a mountain, let's say a piece of a mountain breaks, it comes to naught, right? It falls, it breaks apart, and then that's that, right? And it says, and a rock is removed out of his place, i.e. crumbling, breaking, right? And waters wear the stones, to wash them. Thou washest away the things which grow out of the dust of the earth, and thou destroyest the hope of man. So it says here, as waters wear away the stones, and floods wash away the soil, so you destroy people's hope. And he is once again saying this because of his experience that he is going through, because by the judgment or the calamities that the Lord brought upon him, he mentioned many times that he lost hope. He lost hope in life. There was nothing left to live for, as he kept getting plagued, not only externally, but also physically in his body. Thou prevailest forever against him, and he passeth. Thou changest his countenance and sendeth him away. So in the NLT, it says, you always overpower them, and they pass from the scene. Speaking about man, you disfigure them in death and send them away. Right? You change their look, you change their countenance, and then send them away. Verse 21, his sons come to honor, send him away. Like obviously, you take him off the earth. His sons come to honor, and he knoweth it not, because he's not here anymore. And they are brought low, but he perceiveth it not of them. Right? It says, NLT, they never know if their children grow up in honor or sink in insignificance. NIV, if their children are honored, they do not know it. If their offspring are brought low, they do not see it. Verse 22, but his flesh upon him shall have pain, and his soul within him shall mourn. Right? They suffer painfully. Their life is full of trouble. NIV, they feel but the pain of their own bodies and mourn only for themselves. And that is, as Job is saying that as his experience. And he's saying, so this must basically be, how God treats man, because that's how he's feeling like he's being treated. And that's why he prefixes the things that he says, right? That he's gonna speak freely. He's gonna speak from how he feels, okay? Because that's just how bad he feels he has it at this point. So Job went through a lot, right? We know that he endured, but when you actually read the things that he said and how he felt, it wasn't like a walk in the park, right? Or like a cakewalk or whatever you want to call that. He was angry, he was upset, he was distressed. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the book of Job, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.